All right. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Ask Me Anything, where people have submitted questions on my Facebook page, and I am here today to answer those questions. You need to turn that down. There you go. All right. So today I'm being joined by my dad. If you don't know my dad, this is my dad, Ray.
Hola.
Dad is well known for telling really bad jokes, so I thought we'd start off our Ask Me Anything session today with really bad jokes from Dad. Do you have a bad dad joke?
Well, actually, you told me not to tell any bad jokes and keep my humor down to a minimum.
Okay. Do you have a joke for us, Dad?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, he's here for color commentary. If you have questions that you would like to ask me, go ahead and put them into the chat box on the Facebook live stream, and I can see those as we're going. We're also simultaneously live streaming on YouTube, so if you'd like to join us on YouTube, you can. So, Dad, tell me, what's the first question?
Okay, this is from Sally Lambert. She wants to know, is there a hidden spot in Rome that is your favorite place to grab a bite to eat, dinner or lunch?
Oh, that's a great question. A hidden spot in Rome where I'd like to get a bite to eat. The first thing that comes to my mind is for a good pizza at a place called Dar Poeta. D-A-R, first word, second word, P-O-E-T-A. And it is in Trieste, and it's on a really cute little street. And there's they just do great pizzas there. It's very atmospheric. Another one that I haven't been to in years that's in Prati, which is in the Vatican area, is called Dino and Tony. And it's hysterical. It's like a set menu thing where you go and they just kind of feed you whatever they feel like making. But they're really kind of funny, like the waiters bicker. So the show is kind of like their characters also. And then the classic, of course, which you all know, is Mama Paola, my Roman aunt, I guess you would call her, at Trattoria del Polaro. So that's another one that everybody, I think, knows, but it's a classic.
Would your Roman aunt make her my sister?
Yeah, actually, you'd love Paola because Paola would give you a big wet kiss.
Ooh.
Yeah, she would.
My kind of Italian.
Yeah, she is. So.
Okay, so the next question is from Glenda Ryder. And this is something that you should be able to answer very, very well. She's hoping to go to Sicily. She's hoping to spend about 10 days split between two bases, Rome and Sicily. And she wants to know, would you rent a vehicle?
Would I rent a vehicle in Sicily? Well, that really depends on what you want to do. So if you are in Sicily and you want to see countryside things, yes, you want a car. If you are just planning on going to Palermo and Catania and maybe Taormina, maybe even Syracuse, you can get away with taking public transportation. The problem with Sicily, however, is that the train system does not cover the entire island. It really only covers the East Coast. So from Messina all the way down to Syracuse, that's a pretty okay train line. So you can get around, but otherwise it's buses. So the bus between Palermo and Catania, for example, is really, really efficient. So if you're only doing the big cities, you can get away with not having a car. I love driving in Sicily, but I kind of drive like a maniac, don't I, Dad?
She drives like a maniac, and she loves those little tiny Cinquecento cars. What are they called?
The Cinquecento
cars that I couldn't fit in. So
yeah,
I wouldn't know that experience very well.
Yeah. So if you're adventurous, yes, rent a car. It's more fun, but you can sort of kind of do it. There are things you can't do without a car, though. Like I don't think the West Coast is really doable without a car.
Now she was talking about two bases. Mm-hmm. One would be in Sicily, and I would assume the other would be in Rome.
Okay.
If you were spending 10 days, how would you split that time?
Sicily could be 10 days in and of itself. That's the problem, is that you could spend a month in Sicily easily. So I would say Rome is a place, assume you can always easily go back to, because it is easy to get to. Sicily, you have to take a flight down there. So I would obviously split. I mean, you're talking to me. So I'm going to split my time more heavily in favor of Sicily. I would say 3 days in Rome will get you a really nice overview, enough time to do the most important stuff. And then the other 7 days should be dedicated to Italy.
And by the way, my daughter's favorite place in the whole world to go is Sicily.
Yes, it is. So, okay.
Okay. So this is a question I really want to hear the answer to. This is from Cassandra Douglas. Cassandra, this is a great question. What is the biggest mistake that my daughter Sarah has ever made when traveling that led to an even better adventure?
Oh gosh, a mistake that led to a better adventure. Gosh, that's really that's a hard one to answer. A mistake that led to a better adventure. Well, I always think that things not going the way you expect, you do end up having more fun. Um, I would say the most historic thing that ever went terribly wrong was I was doing a family tour and I had a group of families. We went from London to Paris, and on the channel was on fire. So they sent us back to London. So we had to stay an extra night in London, and we had to quickly organize and decide what to do. I had to figure out what to do with people for an extra day in London. So I parked them in the British Library, and I called in favors. I got on my phone and called everybody in London that I knew and said, I have a group. We need to figure out what to do with them tonight to keep them entertained and get them fed. And we put together a lovely ghost tour that was really fun because I was with kids, and we did a ghost walking tour through London, and we ended up at a pub and had dinner with the group, and the kids all ate ice cream, and everybody had a great night. It was great. I mean, it was a disaster to start with, and then it turned out to be something that we actually later incorporated the ghost tour into our regular tour.
Okay, I'm taking my lovely wife on a cruise to Mexico in April, and I asked Sarah, what's the COVID rules on the ship in April? And her answer was, who knows? And looking through your questions on the website, there are a lot of questions about COVID and what the restrictions are, how to handle this and how to handle that. And I understand what she's saying. It's hard to project out a month or 2 months what the rules are going to be. So what do you say about that, Sarah?
I would say don't get too wound up. Don't get too focused on that right now, because my understanding from listening to people is that listening to the rule changes is that within the next month or two, they're going to review all testing requirement rules basically in every country that I work in. So please don't look at a trip you're taking in March or April and try to make plans already for when you're going to get your COVID testing. You may not need it by then. So just piano piano, as we say in Italian. One foot in front of the other. Let's just wait and see what happens. My prediction is they're going to stop requiring PCR testing. They're going to make it vaccination cards only. But the caveat is going to be you have to have had your booster. And that gives you the super green pass, at least in Italy, but all throughout Europe. I think that's going to become the requirement that you're going to need to have been vaccinated 3 times, and then they'll remove all of the restrictions for testing. That's my guess.
And one thing I got my booster shot, and I went onto that website in Washington called, what's it called? Washington. It's a Washington website, and what they do is they send you the information that you've got the 3 vaccinations, and they also send you a barcode.
Yeah.
That you can carry around with you, so you can put it on your phone.
That I would just say though, that's cool. And that did help me in Egypt, because when I flew to Egypt, I needed a QR code associated with my vaccination card. But that's not going to work in Europe. They want the original vaccination card from the CDC. So just remember that you have to have your original vaccination card with you. And before we jump into another one of your questions, Dad, I just noticed that there are some questions on YouTube that I wanted to get to. What percentage of time do you spend seeing the sights and standing in line? And how much do you just hang out somewhere and absorb the culture? That's a great question. It depends on what level of a traveler you are. If you're a newer traveler, you're going to spend probably more time standing in line to see the big stuff. But me, I really focus personally on just enjoying the culture. And in fact, my favorite days I've ever spent in Rome, in Paris, anywhere really, have been aimless days where I've just walked. I just walk, I stop and have a coffee. I go, look at shops. Maybe there's a museum I pass. I think when you have really a more open plan, they have a word for it in French. It's flaneur, which is really cool. This idea of just aimless wandering that creates a cool experience. So I would say I do more of the wandering.
But the one thing that Sarah did tell me from her travels, especially late last year and early this year, this is a fantastic time to travel because tourism is not at 100% yet. So a lot of these attractions that you go to, the lines are not very long. I mean, compared to what they were. So
It's true. There
great
are
time to travel.
Yeah, there's not long lines. So, I mean, right now, yeah, you can do both. Other question from YouTube is, what locations in Europe are easiest to travel in right now? I would say, well, obviously Italy for me. That's why I'm going to Italy next week, because for me, that's the easiest place you can go, just because I'm so familiar with it. But I would say Spain is looking pretty good. France is looking pretty good. Germany, I think any of the kind of main continental European countries. I hear that Ireland has opened up all of their tourism, and you don't even need to wear masks in pubs anymore,
They
which
might
I'm a
even
little
let-
like.
They might even let me come back.
They might even. No, I don't think so, Dad.
Okay.
Your jokes are too bad. Sorry.
Anyway, I got another question from. This question is from Anne McReynolds, and she must know that you're the packing guru,
Maybe.
because she wants to know if you go to. She wants to pack light, just like you want her to. But she says when you go to a cold country, like you went to Iceland, you did a tour in Iceland.
Yes.
How did you pack for that?
So I will be doing a packing video on wintertime travel at sometime this week. I'm going to work on filming it in a slightly more professional way. But the tip I want to give you is layers. You need to think about layers. You are going to take heavier things, so you can't take as much. That's just the bottom line. A lot of people have a requirement that they can't do more than 15, 16 pounds, depending on the airline you're flying. So I would say, just bring things that are cozy but lightweight. So my example is always cashmere. I love cashmere. I know it's expensive, but you can get, actually right now, Macy's has cashmere sweaters really cheap after Christmas. They're super thin and very, very warm. So that's the kind of stuff you want to be thinking about, is what can you bring that's really light, but also scale back the number of outfits that you bring. You don't need to bring that many things. So, 2 or 3 pairs of warm pants, maybe 2 or 3 different undershirts, like t-shirt or a tank top, and then 2 or 3 sweaters. That's pretty much all I'm going to bring. I'm just going to do layers, and really also be sure to bring warm shoes. The shoes that's what kills you in the wintertime, are the shoes. So I'm going to only do 2. I usually do 3. I'm going to do 1 pair of walking shoes and maybe 1 pair of boots.
Okay. Next question. There's a lot of questions about Sicily here, and people are asking, what is the must-see thing in Sicily besides your ex-boyfriend?
Shush, Dad! Don't even. No, ignore him.
Ignore
Dad,
me.
no, don't say stuff like that. So the thing that I would say is a must see in Sicily. I would go with Mount Etna, of course. A lot of people like going to the top of Mount Etna. And taking the lift up to the top. That's really spectacular. Going to Palermo and seeing the Norman Palace. But probably if you're going to go to see one thing in Palermo, I would send you to Monreale, which is this incredible cathedral that is completely wallpapered in beautiful golden mosaics. So that's probably my top site for that area. But then the top, the number one thing in all of Sicily for me is the Valley of the Temples in Agrigento, and also Selinunte, the other archaeological site. The Greek temples in Sicily are better than temples you'll see anywhere else in the European world, even better than Greece. So the Valley of the Temples, I think, is the top site in Sicily not to miss. I'm going to jump over here. There's a question on YouTube. Any coaching tips on overcoming the need to do just in case packing? That's a great question. How do you avoid putting stuff in that you think you might need just in case? And I know that feeling where you're like, ooh, do I really need these gloves? It might be cold. The way you can get away with that is look at the thing you're considering packing for just in case and ask yourself the question, can you buy that at the destination you're traveling to? So if you look at it and you go, okay, maybe I'll need lip balm, you can buy lip balm there. Maybe I need gloves. You can buy gloves pretty much anywhere. So that's what I would say, is just make yourself feel better when you feel like you're overpacking and you're putting in things you really don't need. Realize you can buy them at your destination. And sometimes buying that stuff at your destination is really fun because it becomes a souvenir. So that's what I would say.
Okay, so Ernie Bilbero sent an interesting question that's close to my heart.
All right.
Money.
Okay.
So he's traveling to Paris for 8 weeks, and he's going on a river cruise, and he wants to know, how does he handle his money? Is a credit card the only thing that he can take, or does he need to convert money to euros? How would you do that?
That is a really great question, because I'm going to give you different advice than I would have given you even 5 years ago. Europe is really moving in the direction of making credit cards fine, contactless payments. I know a lot of places like my iWatch, or Apple Watch, I can pay with this. So if you have that little symbol on your credit card that's a tap symbol, most places in Europe are starting to take that. However, just remember, certain countries still really prefer cash, like Italy really prefers cash. So what you're going to have to do is bring at least, I would say, 1 or 2 credit cards and bring your debit card. And then as soon as you get off the plane, even in the airport in Italy, you can go, or anywhere, Charles de Gaulle, any airport in the world, actually, you can just walk up and you can get cash. When I landed in Jordan recently, I didn't have any of the dinars, any of the Jordanian money. I just went in the airport to the ATM and I withdrew the money. I do, by the way, carry 2 ATM cards just in case, because sometimes if you forget to tell them you're traveling, you can't take money out. So the backup, because I'm paranoid, is I'll take 2 credit cards, 2 debit cards, and then I'll take like $500 in US cash as a last resort. That money you could take to a bank and you could exchange if you really needed to. So
speaking of money, do I get paid for this?
you get paid in admiration, Dad. From me and from everybody watching.
That'll take me a long way.
You guys will have to pay my dad in admiration. I saw a question pop up here that I wanted to quickly address. Somebody asked if they go to the blog post I put up recently with all of my travel gear recommendations. If you buy through the links posted there to Amazon, do I get credit? Yes, I do. So please, if you are using any of my recommendations, go to my blog, and that most recent post has the link for shoes, toothbrushes, all the different gear that I use. The Tom Bin one as well. I'm an affiliate with Tom Bin. So please do click on those links and do your shopping through there to support your local travel writer.
Here's an interesting question.
I can buy stuff for my dad.
Yes, lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Like old age stuff.
Like supportive or orthopedic shoes. That's what I bought my dad the other day. So thank you for clicking on those Amazon links. I can buy my dad.
And diabetic socks.
Yeah, I did actually buy my dad diabetic socks. And
I got it all. I got it all covered.
You're getting old, man.
I am. Okay, this is an interesting question. So when you travel, do you buy any kind of travel insurance? And Ina Thompson's asking, when you buy insurance, does it cover COVID, or do you have to read the fine print?
Ina Thompson, that's a great question. For you, my dear, yes, get travel insurance. For me, I should, but I don't. Travel insurance is a really great idea, especially right now, in case you happen to get sick or something really bad happens, that they'll cover. The most important thing is to get evacuation insurance, which means if you get terribly sick or you break your leg or something like that, they will pay to transport you home. That's the most important piece. As far as the actual medical care, you don't really need that anywhere I've ever heard of, because every hospital around the world that I've ever been to, they don't charge you $10,000 to give you a Band-Aid like they do in the US. I mean, I've been to hospitals in Thailand, I've been to hospitals in Egypt and in the Middle East, in Europe, and you get paid, you pay on the spot, but it's maybe $100 or $200 depending on what you had done. It's pretty reasonable. So that evacuation insurance is the most important one. COVID insurance, as I understand it, is a separate thing. You're going to have to talk to your travel insurance agent and make sure you're covered for that in case you get stuck, because what you want is the coverage in case you get stuck in a city for an extra week being quarantined, if that'll be covered. Now, that recommendation is going to change, though, because there is some chatter that they're pressuring the United States government to drop the requirement to test on the way home. If they do that, then all of this nonsense of people being stuck in countries, that will go away. So you won't need that kind of travel insurance. So yeah, read the fine print. That's the answer.
Okay, Nancy Humphrey sent you a question that you'll be glad to answer.
All right, please.
She says that you work for Rick Steves, obviously, and Rick Steves' tours were great, but she wants to know some of the more intimate places that you would go to see the real flavor, really, rather than the big tour.
That's a great question. And that's something that our tour program is going to be addressing. And we're trying to work on that little by little. For example, my Rome tour that I'm doing next month is going to go out to the Castelli Romani. We're going to eat porchetta at the home of porchetta. We're going to see castles. We're going to do things in Rome you've probably never heard of, because I really feel that that's what we can do as a tour company, is really help you get off the beaten track. If you're putting your own trip together and you want to do something a little bit more offbeat, I really recommend looking into traveling in regions that you don't hear about a lot. I mean, everybody loves Tuscany, but come on, Tuscany is sort of, it's a little done. So think about looking around Veneto. Veneto is a great place to travel. There's so many very cool places, and I'm going to hopefully get back to writing, so I'll give you some more recommendations that are concrete. But I love renting a car in the Veneto, driving around to see the Palladio villas. You could go down to Emilia Romagna. You can go and visit a bunch of the towns there. And Bologna, that's another great place that's not really on anybody's list. Le Marche, which is the Adriatic coast of Italy. That zone there is full of beautiful hill towns, beautiful beaches, and of course, Puglia. We're doing a tour of Puglia this next year in September that's going to cover places that are a little more off the beaten path. And then Sicily, I'm doing an off the beaten path Sicily tour as well. You can look at taking that tour, or you can look at the itinerary to get some ideas of places that are definitely not on everybody's itinerary.
Okay, and this question is from Sharon Carnes, and Sharon wants to know what the favorite place to check in for best airfare prices are. And I want to tell you an experience I had today. I went on to Hopper, and I wanted to book an air flight down to LA to go on my cruise, and they gave me a price, and I accepted it. I wanted to book the flight, and then it says your airfare's changed. It's up $30. And I said, oh, that's fine. I hit it again. And it says, okay, your airfare's up another $19. And I go, what? But I mean, I ended up booking it, but I kind of thought that wasn't quite fair. So what do you think about booking through Hopper and some of these other places?
Hopper, I think, is okay. I did a whole video on this on my strategies for finding good flights a few weeks ago. You can find it on YouTube. And my suggestion is to start with Skyscanner and Google Flights and have a look at those. Once I find a flight in the price range I'm looking at, then I go directly to the airline's website, and then I try to see what the flight is. So almost every time I end up booking directly through Delta. But I will give you a little hot tip about Delta and any other US-based airlines. Don't just settle for what you see on your screen. Actually call if you have the time to wait. Have them call you. Usually you call and then they'll call you back. Call and talk to a person, because sometimes the agents can actually find a better solution for you than you were able to find yourself. And that really has worked for me sometimes when I've had a little bit of a tricky connection, or I didn't quite like what I was finding or the prices. They've actually found me lower prices, like actually booking directly with the airline.
Well, my experience with Hopper was that when I first did this about a month ago, they said in the next 30 days, your airfare may drop such and such an amount. Well, since that time, the airfare's done nothing but go up because of oil prices. So really, that was bad advice at the time. So
well, and that's kind of driving a lot of what I'm saying about when should people travel. If you're looking for a great deal, you better travel before June, because after June, ticket prices are going nuts. It's going to be $1,600 to $1,800 to fly to Europe at that point, and it's not going to come down again. So if you are looking for a great time to travel and you want to get a good deal, I would say I'm going next week. So, consider these last minute deals for February. I have spots on my tours open in March, for example. Anytime in this spring zone, you're going to do a lot better for travel.
Well, oil prices right now are $90 a barrel.
It's going to go up.
And if the Russian-Ukrainian thing heats up, it could go over $100 a barrel, and airfare is just going to go straight up. So if you're thinking about traveling, do it quickly.
Yeah. I'm going to take a live question here, suggestion for the best transportation for solo travelers from Rome Airport to Capri. As a solo traveler, it's going to cost you a lot to get a van transfer. So what I would probably do is do the more homemade version myself. If you're an intrepid solo traveler, from the airport in Rome, see if you can get a direct train to Naples. Probably you'll have to put it together, which is take the Leonardo Express to Termini, change there to the very frequently departing express trains to Naples, which take about 50 minutes. From there, then you take a taxi down to the port. Do take a taxi to the port, because there's two different docks in Naples, and you want to go to the one that is correct, because believe me, I've gone to the wrong one before. So go to the correct dock, have somebody drop you off in a taxi there, and then take the boat to Capri directly from Naples. I would do that rather than having to take the train to Sorrento and going from there. So that's your fastest route, is train from airport, Rome, Naples, and then taxi to the port and take a ferry, and then take a nap, because that's a long journey.
Okay, Stacy Ward wants to know must-dos see and eat in Trieste?
Trieste. Yes.
Trieste.
Trieste. Well, the first thing you should do if you go to Trieste is you should drink coffee, because it's the home of Illy Cafe, which is one of the most famous coffee brands. And actually, they're huge on coffee culture, because it's a very interesting little factoid. Trieste, which you probably maybe have never heard of, it's, if you think of Italy as a boot, this is sort of the upper thigh. It's to the east of Venice. And it used to be part of Austria. It was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and it was the seaport for the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So this town, which very few people go to, it's gorgeous. It looks like a little mini Vienna. And so I really recommend that you go and just enjoy walking the streets. There's a monastery up on the hill up above that has some beautiful Byzantine mosaics. But you can eat Slovenian food, because you're right next door to Slovenia. One of the things I did once in Trieste I loved is I took if it's running, I don't know if it is, but they have a cable car that takes you up to a path. I think it's called the Napoleonic Path, and it's a trail. So I took my running shoes and ran along there, and you had this incredible view of the Adriatic Sea. And then nearby, I took a bus once to caverns, and you can see a cavern that is big enough to fit St. Peter's Cathedral in. So those are just a few things. There's a lot of other things you can do, but what I love the most about Trieste is just it's really cool, non-touristic vibe, really easygoing, great food. It's very well priced. So yeah, it's nice off the beaten path destination.
Okay, and someone wants to know, am I single? Oh, no, never mind. Okay.
He's not single, ladies. I'm sorry.
That was my joke of the day, by the way.
Thanks, Dad. That was a bad joke. So, all right, question?
Let's see here. Heading to Pelugio. How do you say that? Pelugio?
Puglia.
Well, I was close. In June. This is from Becky Van Hey. Please advise on SIM card purchases, ease of installation on iPhone, and best current adapter.
A lot of people have asked me this question, and I think I might even just do a little video tutorial for you guys on this. How do you use your cell phone in Europe? So if you have, my dad's got an iPhone 12, I think. I have an 11. The 12s and 13s, you can do an eSIM where you keep your local number, but then you install a local SIM card. With my iPhone, I pop out my T-Mobile card, and I have a TIM, Telecom Italia Mobile, card that I just pop in there that I buy. You can buy in any country. So I use the local SIM card in every single country that I travel to. So Thailand, Egypt, Jordan, everywhere I've gone. And it costs usually around $20 just to get a card and enough data to last me for however long I'm there. Now, the caveat on this, and the reason this doesn't work for some people, is your phone has to be unlocked. And if you got your phone from Verizon or Sprint or something, it is not unlocked. And it's going to be a process. What you have to do is, number one, your phone has to be paid off. You can't owe anything on it. And number two, if it is paid off, what you have to do is actually go into the store from your cell phone provider and ask them about their process. I did this through AT&T once, and it took me weeks to do. So my real tip for you is, going forward, the next time you need to replace your cell phone, buy your phone directly from Apple, unlocked. Now, if you don't want to have to go through all of that, if you go to my recommendations page that I just did the other day, there's a really cheap burner phone you can get off of Amazon for $60. And it's unlocked and it's ready to go. Just pop in a SIM card, no matter what country you're in, it's going to work for you. Or see if you know somebody who has an unlocked phone they don't want anymore. I think it's fine to just carry a burner phone and then have your regular phone with you as well as a solution.
It really amazes me nowadays. I know when you were in Morocco out in the middle of the desert on a camel, how clear the picture was and how clear your voice was in the middle of the Sahara Desert.
I know, that was crazy.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
So I was going to give you one last. Oh, this is one last question.
We've got so many, you guys, and I want to answer all
This
of them.
is from Susan Cochran.
Yeah.
She wants to know which backpack is the very best backpack to buy.
Which is the backpack, the very
30
best
or 35 L capacity. Is that pounds or 30 or 35?
liters?
Oh, liters.
Yeah. Okay. So what that's going to depend on you. My dad is a giant, so I would say he could carry even like a 50-liter backpack, couldn't you, Dad?
Well, when I was younger.
A 30-liter backpack is, I think, a little on the petite side. So if you are a petite person, I think a 35 is a pretty standard size. So the Cotopaxi Alpa, for example, their standard bag is 35. The bags that I recommend that are from Tom Bin, which are really super good quality bags, usually run about 35. But I think the ones that are 40 and over, I took a 40-liter one last year. It's big. It's even for me, and I'm a giant. And so I would say stick to the 35. I think 35 just kind of hits it perfectly. The backpack that I took with me to Egypt theoretically said it was 40 liters, and it absolutely was not 40 liters. So it depends on how they measure that kind of stuff. So it really depends on your frame. I would say aim for the 35 range. That should be enough for most people.
Okay, so Roxanne Wickham went to Rome in 2011, and she does not recommend the Bailey. She said it was a terrible breakfast, dark rooms. She wants to know, do you have a better place to stay?
A better place to stay in Rome, a boutique place in Rome. Okay, I'm going through my brain here. Yes, but I can't remember the name of it. There's a couple of places near the Spanish Steps that are boutique hotels that are pretty good and not outrageously priced. There's also a suites hotel near Via Firenze above the Target bookstore that's quite nice. And I'm going to have to look up the exact links for you guys because the names are kind of escaping me.
So then let me ask you a question, because if you go to Rome, what's the average price you should expect to pay for a room?
That's a great question, Dad. Thank you for asking that. Well, it's kind of all over the place. I would say you're going to pay anywhere from $50 a night for kind of a cheap and cheery
Motel 6
experience, up to you can pay $500, $1,000 a night for a hotel room in Rome.
So what would your dad do?
What would you do, Dad? You would probably try to go for the $50 room.
No. I'm at least Best Western.
Oh, you're at least Best Western. Okay. I would say most people should expect to pay between $100 and $200 a night for a party of two. And this is the thing that's the misnomer, the misunderstanding about traveling in Europe. People think, oh, it's Rome, it's going to be very expensive. Actually, no, I pay less. Like this vacation I'm taking my children on, I'm taking it for a reason because it was cheaper to take them for 2 weeks to Italy than it would have been to take them to Disneyland. And I'm not kidding. The hotels are cheaper. I didn't pay more than $125 a night for anything that we're going to be staying in. So really, especially right now, you can get some great deals. In Bologna, for example, I think I'm paying $80 a night. In Ravenna, I think I'll also $80 a night. Where can you get a nice hotel room in the United States for $80?
Your mother really wants to go to Bologna.
Oh, does she? Well, maybe she'll go.
She wants to go see the shopping and spend lots of my money.
Okay. Oh, hey, a great hotel recommendation I'm using for my Rome tour, the 7-day Rome tour coming up in March, Hotel Colbe. Check it out. It's really interesting, and it's in a super strange location right next to the Palatine Hill. It's such a cool little local neighborhood. I wouldn't say it's a boutique hotel, but it's a nice 4-star hotel that really has its own atmosphere. It's unique. It's part of a monastery. So check that one out. That could be an interesting one. I'll have to start thinking more about a little bit cut above. I know that there's one called Shelter, I think, or Mama Shelter everybody's talking about right now. All of the travel journalists I know say it's kind of the hot hipster place to stay in Rome right now, but I haven't seen it personally yet.
So let me ask you another question.
Yes.
Breakfast, dinner, lunch. Give me a price for breakfast, price for lunch, and price for dinner.
Okay. In Italy, we're talking about?
You know me, I'm cheap. But
in Italy.
In Italy.
Okay. In Italy, breakfast is going to cost you about $1 because breakfast is a shot of espresso.
Ooh, that's not much for me. I need my Egg McMuffin at least.
Yeah, no Egg McMuffins. Sorry. If you want to sit down and actually have like a pastry and a coffee, it's going to be $3 or $4 probably. Lunch, if you're just going to do kind of a street food thing, you could spend anywhere from $2 or $3 up to $15. And if you do a sit down pasta lunch, it's going to be $15, $20. Dinner, I would budget between, cheap places are going to start around $20 a person. If you're going to get wine or you want us to go somewhere a little bit nicer, it could go up to $50 a person. I like to kind of sit when I'm traveling on my own in about the 30 euro range for dinner, something like that. So I don't splash out. You don't need to spend a lot on food in Italy. It's all good and it's all cheap.
Let me tell you a funny story.
Oh dear.
One of Sarah's friends from Italy came over to America to spend some time with her. And she lives in Italy, and she actually owns a hotel in Italy.
Yes.
And so we invited her down for dinner.
Yes.
It was a last minute thing. So we decided we'd go out and get Kentucky Fried Chicken. And we brought the Kentucky Fried Chicken home, and we put it on the table. We all sat around and started talking. And all of a sudden, we started taking our hands and digging into the barrel and pulling the chicken out. She looked at us like we were barbarians.
She did.
She was just shocked that we would eat that way. And then my wife gave her a glass of milk. She goes, "What's that?" They don't drink milk in Italy. They just eat differently than we do. And I was just shocked. It just kind of took me by surprise. And we said, "Yeah, just dig in. That's what we do over here. We eat like barbarians."
Well, yeah. Well,
and she actually liked it.
Well, the thing is that eating with your hands in Italy is a very familiar thing. That's like you do that. It's
they
like
talk
intimate.
with their hands. You don't eat with their hands.
No, but it's like pizza aside or sandwiches or something. To eat food like that is just it's a little too familiar, So anyway, and milk, that's true. They do not drink big glasses of milk like you. My dad runs on a gallon of milk a day. They don't do that. They don't drink milk there like that because they think it's gross. They say it's for babies.
Well, I'm a big baby.
You are a big baby. All right, give me a couple more questions, Ted. And I'm going to check YouTube. We've got some questions on YouTube. Let's see. What full-length, lightweight pants do you recommend for a fellow tall female? I really am a big fan of Athleta. If you take a look at what Athleta has, if you like something kind of soft and supple, there's one called the Studio Pant that it's like wearing pajamas, and they come in talls. So Athleta and Banana Republic is also a good source to find stuff like that for talls. But I'm going to be taking mostly Athleta pants with me on my next trip.
Okay, so Ed McQuillan wants to know, how do you feel about traveling in Jerusalem?
That's a great question, Ed. And I have very mixed feelings about it. I think it's a really important experience. I think everybody should go to Israel. Everybody should go to Jerusalem at least once. It's not enjoyable in the traditional sense of like, let's go eat gelato and see a museum. It's heavy. It's heavy. But I think it's important. It's important for everybody to go and draw their own conclusions about the situation in Israel, but also Jerusalem is so incredibly historic. There's so many layers to that city. You can take so many different approaches too, and that's really a very personal thing. Do you want to take an approach from a religious point of view? Do you want to take an approach from a historical point of view? There's just so many different ways that you can look at that city. It's complex. So yeah, I'll do it again. I'm going to do a Jerusalem tour again eventually, or an Israel tour again eventually. I just need to think about what my approach should be. But as an independent traveler, I would absolutely send you to Jerusalem with no problem. You'd be fine. Israel's quite easy to get around. You can fly into Tel Aviv and take a train to Jerusalem. And yeah, it's safe. It's easy. You just want to stay close to the old city so you can walk and you can see all the museums from there. It's very, very interesting. But yeah, it's tough. It's a tough place to travel. Dad?
Okay, so Cindy Brewer's going to take a nice long tour, and she's going to end up in Rome.
Okay.
And she wants to know, is there 2 or 3 things in Rome that are must-sees, and maybe things to eat that you'd like she should experience? And
in where? In Rome?
In Rome.
Okay. Sorry, that's a long question. Okay, so a couple things in Rome to see. My top pick for what to see in Rome this year, if you can get tickets, is the Domus Aurea, Nero's Golden House, which I think is spectacular because it's an active archaeological excavation site. You go in, they give you like a helmet, and you have to go in and you can see the archaeologists actually working. They have a virtual reality component, and they do have, I think, a Raphael show going on there now as well. So that would be my top choice because it's something different. I also think getting underground is really important. So if you have the opportunity to go see San Clemente, for example, Palazzo Valentini is another one I love. I don't know if that's open right now, but Palazzo Valentini was, for a while, you could go down and see a multimedia presentation projected onto the floors and walls of an underground palace. So those are the things I like. The other thing that's really fun, that's a little bit more offbeat, is go out to the ancient Appian Way. You can get there by public transportation. You can actually take a taxi also, and then walk or take a bicycle along that road. It's really a beautiful thing to do because you see the Roman countryside. And that's the thing most people don't realize, is how easy it is to get outside of the walls and be in beautiful countryside.
Okay, so you're the packing guru,
Yes.
and Suzanne Liu wants to know, how do you pack light and have space to bring stuff home to your dad?
Oh, specifically, she wanted to know about me bringing stuff home to you. Okay, that's wow, coincidental. So I always bring with me a goodie bag. So I bring a lightweight bag with a zipper on it. So you want one for sure that can zip up, so you could theoretically check it. If you look on my list that I posted on my blog, there's one by Lewis and Clark. It's called the Electrolyte Duffel, and it folds up to like this big. It's teeny, teeny. Tom Bin also sells a fantastic shopping bag that has a zipper that's tough. It's lightweight, but it's super tough. And I've used that as a checked bag before, but it folds down to nothing. The important thing is you want to get one that's good quality, so those seams don't burst in transit on the way home.
Okay, Kalja Rogers would like to know, he's planning a trip to Orvieto?
Orvieto, yes.
Orvieto from Rome, March 7th.
Yes.
And he wants to know, should he book a train ticket in advance, or is that not necessary?
That's not necessary. So I am going to do a few videos by request. You guys have already asked me to do some videos on how the train system in Italy works. When you're taking the little milk run trains, the little farm trains that go from village to village, you do not need to buy a ticket ahead. There's no point because there's no seating on them. It's first come, first serve. If you're going on the main lines, so that's Rome to Florence, Venice, Naples, Torino, Milan, those do need to be booked in advance because they're called the frecce. So if you see on the website, the Trenitalia website, that something's a freccia that requires a reservation, yeah, buy that ahead of time because you actually get a better price. If you buy it a week or two ahead of time, it's going to be a lot cheaper than if you buy it in the moment. But tickets to Orvieto, Arezzo, any kind of like B-list city, those are going to be on the secondary lines. They're going to be regionale trains, the regional trains that are much less expensive and don't require a reservation.
Somebody wants to know, how much do you pay your dad to help you with the videos?
Yeah, no, nobody wants to know that, Dad. All right. I'm just going to go pop over to YouTube for one last question here because we got dinner on the table. I'm going to Paris in March of 2023 for about 2 weeks. I wanted to do a day trip from there. What would your recommendation be for a good chateau within day trip distance? Oh, that's a great question. So you've got some great options. If you want to do something more difficult, you can go a little bit further south to the Chateau of Fontainebleau. You can take a train down there, and that chateau is actually really interesting. Most people go to Versailles, which is Louis the 16th, but if you go down to the Chateau of Fontainebleau, that chateau was the country castle of French kings all the way along, historical, and Napoleon lived there as well. It's actually historically a more important castle than Versailles. So that's Fontainebleau. To the south, it's, I would say, about an hour and a half south of Paris. If you want to stay in town, you can go to see Vincennes. There's a chateau at Vincennes, which is, if you take line 1 as to the far east, just outside of the Périphérique, is a little neighborhood called Vincennes. It looks like Vincennes. And that is where they have a chateau that's an old medieval castle that you can go and visit right within 10 minutes of the heart of Paris. It won't take you hardly any time to get there. So that's kind of your low level, easy chateau to go and see. So those would be my top picks. I can't speak right now. Vaux de Vicomte is the ultimate thing that you would want to do as a day trip, chateau-wise. It's one of the most famous chateaus, architecturally in some ways more important than Versailles. It's kind of tricky to get to though. So that might be something you would do on a day trip. There are a lot of day trips to Vaux-le-Vicomte. So you might want to look into that and see if anybody is offering a good day trip to get you out there and back. Okay. Any other questions, Dad, or is that it?
That's about it. My name is Ray Murdoch, and I approve these messages.
Thanks, Dad. So the question I have for you, Dad, is where do you want to travel if you get a chance to travel somewhere?
Well, we're going to the Mexican Riviera on a cruise, and after that, I'm going to try to have my wife kind of venture out even further.
Yeah.
And I would like to go back to Ireland because I grew up there, and I do have brothers and sisters over there. And I would probably like to go back there before, the end of the road, so to speak.
Yeah, my dad's been threatening to die since I was 10 years old. So this is pretty
I'd like to go
par
back
for
to
the course.
Ireland and see some of my relatives over there and my family over there. And then I've been all over Europe, but I've never been to Italy or Sicily. And this is one of the biggest loves of my daughters. So I think I would probably really enjoy doing it at some point.
Maybe someday.
But I have to do it while I can still walk really good. So I'm getting slower as I get older.
Oh, no, you aren't. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to Ask Me Anything today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all the questions, but I'll save some of those for the next time we do an Ask Me Anything. I'll do another one probably in March.
And you can ask me anything too.
Oh, you guys can also post questions in the comments for my dad. And after this is done and we eat our dinner, I'll go back and I'll let my dad write answers to questions.
She'll probably have to edit everything, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, probably. So, well, thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you to everybody over on Facebook. Thanks to everybody over on YouTube. For those of you on Facebook, just remember, I'm trying to kind of migrate stuff over there. So if you want a little bit better quality, jump on over to YouTube. And please do give me your recommendations for the videos you'd like me to shoot when I go to Italy next week. So we'll see you again this week. By the way, we're going to be hosting Jesse Blackwood this coming week. He's going to be talking about Greece every day. So starting tomorrow with Coffee Chat at 10 a.m. So we'll see you then. Ciao for now.
Ciao for now. Good.